Hey, how's it going? Doing a video here on dealing with a uneven floor transition between like a new addition and an old part of an old house. I go on YouTube every once in a while and I'm looking around for stuff that sort of help me work on my projects, and I figured this is one of those kind of problems I didn't see too many good videos on, so I'm going to try to do one. And this will actually end up being a few videos because I'm not going to do like a whole fancy production. I'm just going to film as we kind of go along on how it works out for us. So a few months ago, about a year ago, we posted a video about how to transition from an old height of a floor to like a new addition. And in this particular case, if you haven't seen that video, what I had is this is the old part of the house. It's about 200 years old. So what's happened is that the house is sagged. As we go into the new addition, which by new I mean 1947, there is a height issue. This was much lower than that. So in order to fix that, what we used was something called carpet shims. So carpet shims are these really long transitions that they use in flooring, particularly in carpets. If you're going from like a carpeted bedroom into like a tile bathroom. They work really well, and they can be used under flooring, it looks like. So this is basically the old floor right here, and this is new floor. And same type of flooring, white oak floor. What I did have to do, if you can see the tongues, they're going this direction. So that means that floor was laid this way. So that was laid, then that, moving that direction. I have to go this direction with the floor. So you can see there's a little gap that's formed by doing that. And that's what that little piece is for, that little long dowel. It specifically fits into that groove between the two tongue and groove pieces and allows you to reverse direction. So now that I could reverse direction, I had to transition from high down to flush. And that's what I did with the carpet shim. If you can see here, it's pretty high already. It's almost the height of that carpet shim high. And it ended up being almost 3/4 inches of height transition. And then as you go along, that gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's almost nothing. So we used a bunch of this stuff, Liquid Nails Subfloor, and these carpet shims, and all these little scrap pieces of wood, and I was able to transition. So then you have this nice floor that runs up, and you can't really feel it too much. But, best laid plans are sometimes not going to work. This worked, and if this was like a shop or something like that, where it didn't matter too much, or just a normal room, that'd be fine. But this is actually going to be our kitchen, and this is our dining room. And unfortunately, it creates a lot of problems because this floor is just not level. So even though I made the transition, this floor just it's pretty wonky. I'll show you why in this old house. So this house, you can see it kind of here. I don't know if you can see these notches, kind of stabs, looks like the tree's been attacked with an axe. And that's because the house is actually about 200 years old, and this post is actually carved using an axe to square it off. And you can see the joinery in here. This is a big giant socket joint. And everything butts together. If you go a little higher up, you can see the post has these things called rack braces, and you can actually see the wooden pegs holding that whole thing together, and there's the beam. So there's a monstrous beam down here. This beam in the floor is about 1 foot by 1 foot and about 45 feet long. And it holds up the middle of the house. Unfortunately, in the old days, they kind of looked at that 1 foot by 1 foot and said, well, we don't need to support that really. And if you give it enough time and enough gravity, eventually it's going to start sagging. So that's what's happened is as you go further this direction, you're going to see it actually sags about 3 inches in the middle. So we did remove a wall here. You can actually see this socket. So this is actually 2 inches by 4 inches. This is what a real 2x4 looks like. Those are modern 2x4s, but this is a big 2x4 of oak. And because we removed the walls and because we wanted to stop the sag, underneath here there are a whole bunch of pillars, steel pillars, to hold that up now. So it's stable. Nothing's going to move. Everything is stabilized from below. But while I was talking to a friend of mine who's a timber framer, I asked him, well, can we raise this? And he said that would be best not. Because what happens is as you start to raise this, all these joints will start moving because the wood is almost 200 years old. So it's really, really not flexible at all. And it'll start raising and possibly come out of connection with each other. This all involves gravity holding it together. So if you start moving stuff, you could have some pretty quick unintended consequences. And then the worst case scenario is that we crack the center beam. If we do that and it fails, it was to splinter or start breaking apart, that would be pretty catastrophic. We'd have to figure out how to put an I-beam in there, and that would be a nightmare. So we're not going to do that. What we have is working. We also have kids and a dog, so I don't really want to. The other option is to raise this entire floor off. So take all the subfloor off. You can see where the joists are. You could then put a big piece of wood next to the joist and try to level everything, but that involves taking it down to absolutely nothing in here. The other problem with that is that the flooring is integrated into the walls. The flooring was laid down and then they put the walls down. So there's a lot of areas where the flooring is helping to support the wall. So when we start cutting all the flooring out, the problem we kind of looked at was what's going to happen where the walls are. Are we going to be cutting underneath some of the 2x4s that they put in? So we're not going to do that either. What we're going to do is we're going to raise this whole section up using this OSB flooring, and those 2x4s, we're going to basically create kind of a raised area so that the OSB comes up and helps create a flat floor all the way across. And then we're going to use some carpet shims just like this to sort of smooth it out. And that should work together to create kind of a nice subfloor without having to go down to just joists. We live here, so my biggest concern is, family safety. We don't want anybody falling through the floor. So we're going to do that, and we're going to kind of post videos how that works. So the first video, what we've done is remove this flooring here, and we've taken all the old flooring out in this area. So this is going to be our living room, or our dining room, I mean. And after we get done with all that, which we've gotten done here, we got about 10 trillion screws. And what I'm doing is I'm putting screws in to help secure this to the joists. So we could first tie everything together, and we're nailing these nails down. Be very careful when you do that. You can see how long this screw is. Make sure that there isn't any electrical or plumbing or gas running through where you're screwing these screws down. So I'm kind of carefully using a big old flashlight and marking the position, going downstairs, looking at anything in the joist. And if I have a clean piece of joist, I know kind of how far I can screw for. But then, if you see something, then just be super careful so that you don't go through a wire or go through a gas line, for example. So we're doing that. We're going to tie this whole floor down much tighter. We've got, it's kind of nice here because you can see the new floor that I've laid already. And it's kind of nice to see what it's going to look like. It's going to be interesting blending the two polyurethane areas. The flooring won't be an issue because we're going to buy the same flooring from the same place. But I've never butted polyurethane up to new polyurethane. So if anybody has any good posts on how to do that, let me know. It seems pretty friendly. It's oil-based polyurethane, so I think I can do it. But yeah, so we're going to eventually, you won't see any of this hard work. It's just going to be the whole thing. It's just going to have this like nice smooth subfloor. We'll throw on the flooring, and people will walk in and never know that there was any issues. It's bad enough, just to tell you here, that with the laser level from here down to there was about that much change. It's bad enough that, for example, I've got a vacuum over here with wheels. If I put the vacuum here, it just rolls down the hill. So hopefully this will fix all that, and I'll post some videos as we go along. But we're starting step 1, which is ripping the floor up, and then screwing the subfloor down, and then we'll go from there. All right, stay tuned. Thanks.